I'm actually really proud to introduce Richard Keeves. Besides being the good friend of one of my oldest clients, he's been a long-term Vic Park resident. Almost 30 years ago, back in 1987, he started the national business magazine Business Directions from offices in East Vic Park. He's an internet business pioneer, having established and run the Internet Business Corporation from 1995 to 2008, which is one of Australia's first web consulting, development and digital marketing firms. And he's still in that same industry today. And in 2008, that was purchased by a public listed company. So he knows how to actually grow and sell a business. These days, he's an independent digital strategist who helps business owners get better results from their websites and e-commerce. He's also the national chair of the judges for the West Australian Web Awards, which is the biggest web industry award in Australia. And he's also the judge for the IT Awards, apparently, as well, WA IT Awards, which I didn't know. We have to talk about more later. And the former president of the West Australian Internet Association, so he's a very well-connected man. He's an experienced keynote speaker and has presented in business seminars and workshops throughout Australia and New Zealand, as well as in Asia and in the USA. He also has multiple books, I'm going to say, because his latest book is called Catching Digital, which is published in 2012. And it's a practical handbook for street smart business planning in the digital world. And he also runs the Australian E-commerce Guide website. We're proud to let you know that Richard is back and working in our town again. He's teamed up with Colin Atkinson. Colin, put your hand up, mate. Owner of the long-standing accounting software consultancy business CA Management, which is based in Burswood Road, just around the corner. They've set up a new department called CA Digital, which provides independent consulting services and training courses. And of course, Richard's industry experience is very valuable. Over-the-horizon vision and straight-talking approach makes him uniquely valuable to business owners looking for clarity and better results without any bullshit. Sorry for the language there. For his thoughts on the 5 key drivers and sustainable and profitable business in 2020, please welcome Richard Keeves.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you. God, who wrote that stuff? Oh, wait. Anyway, thank you. Wow. And yeah, firstly, thanks to the town for inviting me here. Nikki and I were comparing notes before, and because we hadn't met until today, although we connected on LinkedIn the other day, and we sort of talked about what we're talking about, and we're coming from a different perspective, which will be reassuring for you that you're not going to hear the same thing repeated. Nikki's perspective is macro, and I think mine is probably small business and micro, and also with a tinge of digital stuff plugged into it. So the key, I tried to narrow it down to 5, but then as I said to Nikki earlier, I was talking to someone the other day and he came up with another point, and I thought I'd just have to add that in. So I developed this really, it was kind of a bit cheesy, and it'll get even cheesier. But I developed a bit of an acronym to help me remember these 5 key points. And so the first one's W, the second one starts with A, the third one starts with I, and then the next one's T. And then there was another one that I added on called E, and that was weight. And then I was talking with someone the other day, and he added in this other thing, and I thought, oh, that works. So I've got my acronym called waiter, which is a bit kind of cheesy because we're in a restaurant. So the first one is W. Okay, W. Key drivers for success, sustainability, profitability in 2020. I would say 2015 and 2020, and probably in 18-20, and probably in 21-20. Is why. The W stands for why. Why are you even in business? From my observation, the businesses that get very clear on why they're in business and remember why they started the business and remember as they go on why they're in business and why they're here to serve, who they're here to serve. And the ones who are very clear and who can communicate clearly the why for their business are the businesses that are going to win. Those that forget why they exist in business, why they even started the business, and just drift along in some institutionalised bureaucracy of their own entrepreneurial, what was entrepreneurial once, but now that they just do the same thing day after day and wonder why customers are going somewhere else. They're the ones that are not going to be sustainable because they've forgotten their reason for existence, even if they ever knew it. So first W is get very clear on why the business even exists. Who knows Simon Sinek? There's a guy, Simon Sinek. If you haven't heard of Simon Sinek, S-I-N-E-K is his surname. Really, really good. He gave a brilliant TED talk a few years ago. It's on YouTube. The Golden Circles from Simon Sinek, where he's three circles, and the first one is why, the second one is how, and the third one is what. So we've got to get very clear on why we do something before we figure out how we're going to do it, and then what we do is what we deliver to customers. But as Simon Sinek says, customers don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Okay? So get very clear on why and communicate why. Next part of my acronym is A, the A. Now, from a technology point of view, the A stands for adoption, adopt. What I've observed over the last 20 years, which is, and longer, is there are some people who adopt technology just because it exists, and there are others who adopt technology because it can add productivity to their business. Others adopt technology kicking and screaming because their customers are kind of complaining that they haven't got it and need to offer it. And some of them don't adopt technology, the latest technology at all. We call them the laggards. So there's innovators, the early adopters, what's called the early majority, the late majority, and the laggard. So part of it is understanding where you're going to be adopting technology, where your customers, or what your customers expect from you in your business. And one of the keys with adoption for sustainability is to be near the leading edge, but not too far ahead. Don't be at the bleeding edge, because by definition that gets pretty bloody rough out there. The bleeding edge is not a pleasant place to be. The leading edge is a better place to be. Sometimes it's okay to be back from the leading edge. But where you don't want to be is behind your customers' expectations with technology, because your customers will go somewhere where they can find a supplier who meets their expectations when it comes to a technology solution. What do the customers want? What does the customer want? What does the customer need? What does the customer expect? And so part of the game is to then say we need to be using a technology solution that is ahead of what our customers want, need and expect, but not too far ahead. Okay? And that's a challenge because customers move in different ways at different times, and they're not all the same. So there's a big challenge there. That's the A, adoption of technology. By the way, when I came up with my little waiter acronym, I thought, hey, this is a pretty good formula for a whole day workshop, so I'm going to condense it down to 10 minutes and we'll see how we go. So, because it's one thing to talk about, it's another thing to say, oh, how do I then implement that? Okay? So, the next one is I. I is for integration. Integration of systems, integration of services, integration of sales channels, integration of databases, integration of your stuff with your customers, your stuff with your suppliers. Accounting systems that aren't integrated with other parts of the business exist by definition on their own. Websites that don't integrate with back-end accounting systems in an e-commerce world sooner or later cause lots of grief. And in fact, it's one of the reasons why we set up CA Digital. This is not a commercial plug, but one of the reasons why we set up CA Digital is to allow people to have the ability to get some advice around e-commerce systems for their websites that actually can link into accounting systems. And so these systems need to integrate together. The opposite of integration, in my view at least, is fragmentation. And the businesses that get really mucky are those that exist in a fragmented, confused world where they've got different systems that don't talk to each other. So integration is, I think, going to be a key driver we're talking at a micro level for a business. The business systems, the business information needs to be integrated throughout the business. Okay, the next one, you'll get this one as soon as I say it. The T. Actually, who knows what the T might stand for? Oh, training, that's pretty good. Actually, this could go all day if I play this game, but I'm limited to 10 minutes. Nan's already waving me. So, the T stands for trust. I think trust is the big one. All right, they're all big actually, but I think trust is the big one. If businesses don't trust you, and if customers don't trust you, they will not be dealing with you. That's a pretty obvious thing. The more businesses do trust you, or the more you can show that other customers trust you, the more you will attract more customers. It's one of those great things about the web, is if you have a website that shows that obviously people trust you, then other people who haven't even heard of you before are going to start to trust you implicitly. The reverse is also true. If people don't trust you, and if your website doesn't look trustworthy, then they're going to go somewhere else, and they've got lots and lots of choice. Trust is one of those other things, though, that's not just about customers and websites and customers and business. Trust is about people. People need to trust each other. Systems need to trust each other in order to connect together. And businesses need to trust other businesses. And so this is part of this whole glue. Trust really becomes the glue that glues everything together, both in the online world and the offline world. And it's going to be even more powerful and even more important in 2020, in my view. The E, we're up to E in this beautiful acronym called WAITER. E. E is for experience. Now, when I first came up with my E as I was kind of walking around last weekend, I didn't invent this, by the way. I invented WAITER, but I didn't invent this word. Is experience. It's customer experience. But when I thought customer experience, that's good. Let's call that an E because it kind of fits in. E. It's all about experience, but it's about the experience customers have when they deal with your business. Experience is a business. These things we could call, as a guy back in the 80s did, called moments of truth. There was a guy called Jan Carlson who wrote a book. He was the head of Scandinavian Air Service. It's one of these classic stories. He wrote a book that was called Moments of Truth. Moments of truth. In every little experience that a customer has with you, they have a moment of truth. Was it a positive moment or a negative moment? No moments of truth are neutral. There is no neutral when it comes to moments of truth. It's all about the customer experience. Customer service is kind of a subset of customer experience. Customer support is a subset. There's all sorts of little subsets. Customer experience is so important, whether people want to go back and have more of that experience or whether they want to have less. The other thing about customer experience, or about experience, is it's about getting people in your business who have the experience. So the E on the WAITER acronym, E is for experience, both customer experience and also internal experience. And this brings me to my last point, and I'm right on time. Brings me to my last point, which is the R. Now, who would think what could this be in this same view? Anyone got any ideas? R stands for. Right, that's very good, but it's not it. Because that's an obvious one. No, that's very good. That's an obvious. No, that's really good. And like when Anne first gave me the repetition, that's very good. Reputation, that's very good as well. But in fact, they're all pretty good. But yes. For Richard. Oh my God, no, that's not very good. No. Rock and roll, that's very good. No, so, go on. Rush. Stop, I'm trying to rush. No. All of those things are probably right except for rush. And the truth is, it's not about right or wrong, it's about what can we fit into a 10-minute presentation. So, but the R, the biggest R, I reckon, is responsibility. It's responsibility of the people in your business. It's the responsibility that you have for your business. It's the responsibility the people in your business have for it. It's the responsibility you have for your customers. Your willingness to take responsibility for the outcomes of your business and to put up with the stuff that goes along with taking responsibility, because sometimes that feels awkward when someone's having a go at you. And to stand in the heat when your business might have done something wrong, we say, wait, we actually provided that thing. You're right, it doesn't seem to work as we promised it would. We will take responsibility for fixing it or making it work. As opposed to, bugger off, I've already sold it, you can go somewhere else and get, whatever. But the customer also has to take responsibility for what they buy. In the web industry, and this is one of my beefs, in the web industry there's lots of stuff that's sold that should never have been sold. People buy the wrong thing for the wrong reasons. But equally, customers need to take responsibility for buying the right thing for the reasons that make sense to them. So customer responsibility is one of those things that's mutual. The business owner and everybody in the business needs to take responsibility for what's going on, but the customer has to own the responsibility as well. And as long as there's going to be joint responsibility between customer and supplier, there is a good chance that there's going to be a good relationship, good reputation coming out of that, and good things for a whole lot of other R words. But I think responsibility and the ability for people the willingness for people to take responsibility and to really live it every day in their business is going to make a huge difference to the sustainability of businesses in 2020. Thank you very much.